Hey guys, this is Mrs. Ham. Today we're going to use models to represent decimals. So I have some base 10 blocks here, and I am going to color them to represent each part. I'm going to color my hundredths red. When I think about hundredths, if I were thinking about dollars and change, hundredths would be like pennies. I'm going to color my ones green. Ones would be like dollar bills. It takes 100 pennies to make a whole dollar. Think of a one as a whole dollar. And then I'm going to use my purple to color the tenths. So here I have purple to color the tenths. So let's see what decimal number this represents. I have 3 ones. Decimal says and. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths and 7 hundredths. As a decimal number, we would read that as 3 and 67 hundredths. So what bills and coins could be used to represent this decimal number? Well, in that case, I would use 3 $1 bills, 6 dimes, and 7 pennies. So base 10 blocks are pretty much like dollars, dimes, and pennies. We can also use number lines to model our decimals. So right here we have a number line that is counting by tenths. And we have one whole, and it is divided into 10 equal parts, so each part is called a tenth. We would read this as 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, all the way to 10 tenths, which makes one whole. If we took just this portion of it, and we kind of took a magnifying glass and looked at it, this is like a dime, and if we broke it into 10 equal pieces, it'd be like pennies in between, is the way I like to think of it. And we call those hundredths. So if we took 1 tenth and divided it into 10 equal parts, then each little part would be 1 hundredth. And tenths and hundredths end in THS. So if we take a look at our base 10 blocks again, we see that the whole thing makes one whole. A tenth is 1 tenth of the whole, and a hundredth is 1 100th of the whole. It would take 100 of these to make one whole. So this is a model that shows 2 and 4 tenths and 3 hundredths. We would say that is 2 and 43 hundredths. The tenths position is right next to the decimal, and the hundredths position is 2 places away from the decimal. Let's try and put these points on the number line to represent each number. Alright, the first number we read is 87 hundredths. When you read a decimal number, you say the whole thing, and then the last name is just the place that it goes to. Again, right next to the decimal is a tenth, the tenths place. 2 places away is the hundredths place. So this goes 2 places to the right of the decimal, so its last name is hundredths. To find 87 hundredths, I have to think there's 8 tenths and then some more. So I go to 8 tenths, not quite 9 tenths, so I'm going to put a point to represent 87 hundredths before 9 tenths. So that would be point A. On the next one, we have 24 hundredths. Again, there's 2 tenths and 4 hundredths, so it's more than 2 tenths, but less than 3 tenths. That would be about right there. I'm going to put letter B right there. Alright, the next one, C, 51 hundredths, just more than 5 tenths. That's letter C. And D is 5 hundredths. We have 0 tenths. Not even 1 tenth. It's less than 1 tenth. It's like having 5 pennies before a dime. So that would be about right here. And that's letter D. And that would be where 5 hundredths would be. Let's see if we can write the number that this decimal model represents. Alright, I see one whole. And I know that the decimal is going to be to the right of the whole number. So anything in front of the decimal is a whole number. Anything to the right is a decimal. There's one whole, and then there's 3/10, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hundredths. So I would read this as 1 and 36 hundredths. Let's do some word problems on page 51. Guillermo saved the amount of money shown by recycling aluminum cans. What number does the money represent? I've got dollars, dimes, and pennies. I've got ones, tenths, and hundredths. I'm going to put my decimal point in, and I'm going to look and see how many dollars I have. A 10 and a 1. That makes $11. I'm going to find all my dimes because those are going to be in the tenths place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dimes. So that means I have 6 tenths, and I have 2 hundredths. If it's money, I'm going to put a dollar sign. So that means I have $11.62, or $11.62. All right, number 2. Which decimal number is shown by the shaded model? That's 1. Decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4 hundredths. 4 tenths, 4 hundredths. 1 and 44 hundredths. Okay, number 3. Jan went grocery shopping with her dad. Dad paid for the purchase with a $20 bill and received an amount of change represented by the shaded part of the model. Here's your one whole. Here's your tenths. Looks like there's 1 whole, 7 tenths, 8 hundredths. Or $1, 7 dimes, 8 pennies, $1.78. Okay, on number 4, the students drew models to represent 9 tenths. Which student did not correctly represent 9 tenths? You can think of 9 tenths as a fraction. If there's a total of 10 parts in all, and 9 of them we are talking about 9 of them, or 9 of them are being represented by a picture, then you can also think of 9 tenths as a fraction instead of a decimal. So I see in London's model she has 10 equal parts. 9 of them have a dime in them, so that definitely represents 9 out of 10 equal parts. In Adam's model, I counted 10 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 equal parts. 9 of them still have pizza in them, so that would represent 9 tenths. And in Sarah's model, there's 10 equal parts, and 9 of them are shaded, so that's 9 tenths. So I would say all the students' models are correct. Number 5, Lewis correctly shaded a decimal model for a number with a value greater than 7 tenths, but less than 8 tenths. Which model could represent Lewis's decimal number? I'm going to write what I see on each one. This one has 7 tenths shaded. It looks like 7 longs. I know because there's 3 longs that are empty because it takes 10 to make the whole thing. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That has 7 tenths and 8 hundredths, or 78 hundredths. This one has 9 tenths. This one has 8 tenths and 2 hundredths, or 82 hundredths. All right, if we made a number line, 8 tenths and 7 tenths and 8 tenths, which number would fall in between? 7 tenths is equal to 7 tenths, so that one won't work because it's equal. 78 hundredths is more than 7 tenths less. That would fit about right there. 9 tenths would be over here, and 82 hundredths would be a little bit more than 8 tenths. So the only one that fits in between is going to be A. All right, now you're going to work on page 52 on your own to complete the assignment.